Welcome to the DFL Breakdown, presented by GrizLeeGear, with your hosts, Lucas Ford and Ricky Epperson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the DFL Breakdown, the #1 cartoon side character themed, league-specific, weekly fantasy football podcast on the globe. We are back. It's 2025.
Dimmadome Fantasy.
That's right. We got a little shout out from Scott Hansen of the Red Zone fame in our draft video. Shout out to Ricky, who couldn't be here for this week 0 podcast, but is here in thought and with our shout outs and everything there. So we got a ton of stuff to get into before the first game of football officially of the 2025 season. We have the Eagles versus the Cowboys tonight, and that means that our teams are drafted and we are ready to go for fantasy in the Dimmadome. I do have a ton of data to go over with the draft and how that all went down. I'd love to break down everyone's teams and, take a look at what we've done setting up for this season, since there's no matchups yet to break down so far in this week 0 podcast. We're going to look at the draft and then look forward to our week 1 matchups here. So I'm excited. It's fall. The last time I was with you guys, it was Christmas, but it feels like the night before Christmas all over again. Can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait for football. It's going to be here the moment that we are finished with this. I can't wait. So let's go ahead and get into the summary of the draft, and then we can look forward at our matchups. Let's do it.
Score summary.
All right. I've plugged everything that we did in the draft into a big spreadsheet. I had a ton of data on here, including all my personal rankings, and I was using that to compare the values going through drafts, not just in this draft, but in all the other ones I was in this year. But just for our purposes, I filtered it down to the more specific stuff that's relevant to us. I'm going to go through each person's team here real quick and just give a quick overview and my thoughts on how you did. And I've taken the liberty of giving everyone a grade on their draft using the data that I have here on ADP. Now, you're going to have to forgive me. Some of this stuff moves pretty quickly. This data in this spreadsheet is big. It's a lot bigger than even what I'm showing you here. And I wasn't able to just stay on top of this and keep it updated at all times. So some of these guys had moved a little bit in their expected ADP from where we drafted them on draft day and where I was putting this data into the spreadsheet. And I kind of adjusted for that later in the grading process and everything else. So without much further ado, we're already staring at Alex's team. I've done this alphabetically purely for ease of sorting here, and we'll start with Alex because of it. He was the number 2 pick. Excuse me, not the number 2 pick. He was the number 7 pick and managed to land CD Lamb all the way down at the 7. A strong start for him, following it up with Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall in the 4th, Sam Laporta after that, Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel, Tyrone Tracy, Javonte Williams, Jaden Higgins, CJ Stroud. We got Bashal Tootin, Dak Prescott, and then Xavier Legette, Tyler Algier, and Daniil Hunter rounding it out for his singular defensive player taken in the draft. I think he has rectified this since then, and I can confirm Alex did have a stand-in for some of these drafts while he was busy at a wedding. He wasn't at the draft party, but our good friend Kenny stood in and made some picks for him here and there. My impressions of this draft, I think he had got a lot of the guys that I liked going into this. I think Deebo Samuel, pretty underrated, and he was able to get him on his team. Opening up with CeeDee Lamb at the 7 is great value. Jonathan Taylor, I'm really high on with how bad I think the passing offense is going to be in Indy. So my favorite pick of his was Dak Prescott, all the way down at the 151. That is huge value. I was tempted to reach for Dak in a lot of my drafts I did this year. And Alex got him at a super slide. So good job getting the Cowboys stack there. A lot of good value. Anything crazy for reaches or anything like that. His lowest power percentage ranking was Jonathan Taylor. Took him a little bit earlier than expected, but not unforgivable in the slightest. I like the pick. So good job drafting there. Alex, yeah, just has the one guy on IDP there. You'll have to forgive me. The IDP data for ADP is not nearly as widely available, not nearly as comparable. And frankly, a lot of the places that do it don't have IDPs like we do in the way that they score. Ours is a little bit more custom, so really hard to get a read on that. We're just going to leave those guys blank and not count them towards everyone's efficiency here. I did almost forget to mention, in fact, I have forgotten to mention up until this point, we have 2 IDPs this year. It's the year of the double flex. Our champion and absent co-host Ricky has changed the rule as his right as the champion, and he's changed it to include 1 additional IDP flex and 1 additional flex spot on our rosters in place of a kicker and a defense. So no more team defenses. You won't see any of those, and no kickers in this draft. We're just going to have a couple IDP players here and there, and we'll kind of leave the scoring to the playing field for those ones. Can't really look forward too much on that and make guesses there. So I like Danielle Hunter. I hope he's good for Alex. Let's move on to Artie's team here. He picked from the 10 spot to start. Got Amon-Ra. Pretty late for Amon-Ra standards. But I've been seeing him slide down. It's just not as sexy of a pick for a lot of people. And I've seen some fears, with Ben Johnson leaving, that Amon-Ra might not be eating as well as he has been in the past. But I'm still an Amon-Ra believer. Artie is as well, and he's standing by him here, though he did back him up with the double and then triple tap at wide receiver. He's got Nico Collins in the second, then Garrett Wilson. Went to Kenneth Walker after that, DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins. Went for an earlier Micah Parsons pick, and then Jawan Jennings, Dalton Kincaid, Justin Fields is his quarterback. He's got Nick Bosa, Nick Cross, and then Jared Goff, super duper late in the last round. And he might be his quarterback one as well, so he's going to be making decisions between those guys. This is another one of those things similar to Alex's draft where he got his stack quarterback super duper late at a value. This is one of the best picks of the entire draft, I think. And, Jared Goff may go undrafted in other places here, but, just finishing off your stack with your last pick, it's a super classy move from Artie. I really like that. Getting that to match with Amon-Ra almost effortlessly. I thought that was really cool, and his team looks stronger for it here. Some really good value at the end of the draft, just picking guys that were sliding to him here. Made a couple called shots in the center. He was a Stephon Diggs guy last year, believed in him then and believes in him now. Picked him a little earlier than expected for some, but he's going to go week 1. He's playing this Sunday, and that's exciting stuff. So we'll see if Stephon Diggs pays out for him here. Everything else was pretty nice and close, solid in terms of total draft pick cost here. DeAndre Swift may be around early, but that represents some value for people as well there. People really do still believe in DeAndre Swift in that hopefully improved Chicago offense. Yeah, Micah Parsons not on Dallas anymore, by the way. He's on Green Bay now. That wasn't official when we did the draft, as you can see by him still labeled as a Dallas linebacker, but he is playing for Green Bay, and hopefully that means good things for Artie. The injuries, he's saying, aren't going to hold him back, and he's going to play in week 1 too. We'll see if he is a man possessed this year after getting the new contract and dealing with all this drama this offseason. Okay, let's move on to Chris's draft here. He picked from the number 2 and got Bijan Robinson with his first pick. The consensus 2, I see him go at 2 mostly everywhere here. Sometimes at the 3 if people really want to pay up for somebody else. But in any case, Bijan, great pick at the 2. He followed it up with Ladd McConkey, James Cook, and then Joe Burrow. I know Chris is a big Joe Burrow guy, so not surprising to see Joe Burrow there. Rashee Rice following that up. Jalen Waddle, Khalil Shakir, Tucker Kraft. He went for an earlier TJ Watt here, one of the higher IDPs picked, and one of the most famous ones in the league, so that makes sense. Tank Bigsby after that, Will Anderson, and then you got Caleb Williams, and after this, Chris told me he got some unexpected company and opened the door and lost track of time and looked back at his phone and had auto-drafted a few picks. The computer was not kind to him and gave him a few IDPs straight in a row. Some things have changed since then, so we'll see how his team has changed. But for now, a lot of kind of empty picks in the middle. Finished it up with Jake Ferguson at the end to get a backup tight end at value. I think Jake Ferguson is a steal where he got him there, so I don't know if he held on to him or not, but I'm going to have to pay attention to that. My favorite things for Chris here, other than the solid start, Bijan Robinson, Ladd McConkey, those seem like dependable guys, especially in a PPR format. Would be the fact that he's fixed this major error that he made so far in the draft. Two of my least favorite things for him were the Rashee Rice pick, which I thought was early, given the fact that we had confirmed he's getting a 6-game suspension. And then, all the early IDP picks, the early and plenty. I know we have 2 of them. Picking 3 of them is excusable, but 5 is a little much, clogging up his roster, and definitely had to make some changes there. So, like I said, I've alluded to it a few times. Chris has gone to the effort to fix some of these problems, but at least at the draft, they were real problems in the roster there. So let's move on to Corey here. He picked from the 4 spot. And he got Justin Jefferson at the 4. I'm not sure if this is his first time having Jefferson in our league, but I know he does enjoy watching Justin Jefferson play football, as millions of others do as well. It's always good to have the ability to have Justin Jefferson on your team. Didn't fall for the hype where CeeDee Lamb was being picked above Jefferson, and in some places he was listed above him on ADP in a lot of places, but as we saw earlier, CD slid to the 7 and Corey picked Justin at the 4. Can't blame him for it. Some people still believe he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Followed it up with a Devon Achane pick. Got him later for ADP-wise. There's been this calf strain fear that people have had. A little bit of hysteria about that going around, but it looks like he's going to play week 1 and may just have been resting through the end of training camp. We'll see what happens with that. But Corey capitalizing on some of that, on average getting picked around the 14, and Corey gets him at the 21, so good for him there. T. Higgins and Jaden Daniels follows it up after that. Goes to DK Metcalf and Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Cam Scatterboo, and at this point he decided he wanted to be the exciting whites while he was at the draft, so he picked Cam Scatterboo and instantly went Cooper DeJean and then Justin Herbert. And then he closed out his draft with Efton Chisholm, who at that point hadn't even made the 53-man roster. Corey really being a homer and pulling for our Julian Edelman replacement, hopeful Efton Chisholm. Even went to the same school, same alma mater as Julian Edelman, so could be a really Really cool revival of the role in that Patriots offense through Josh McDaniels for him. That's what Corey is looking forward to there. One of the cool things I did like about his team in the draft, when we're talking about high points and low points, that is definitely one of them. Called his shot there. The guy made the team and has a chance to make a splash, so that could be good. Jaden Daniels, I was sitting next to him when he made the pick. I may or may not have advised him a little bit on the pick. I thought that was a good pick for him. Almost a full round late, so can't knock it. He's strong at quarterback. Picked a good tight end, at least to start the season. Travis Kelce, a perennial top tight end. People are worried he's slowing down with age. Didn't necessarily finish as high as he normally does last year, but with Rashee Rice out for the first 6 games, Corey's hoping for at least a strong start there. And a solid team. I like the Devon Achane pick too, and I think he didn't reach for anything crazy. Just made some good value picks and got his guys. So good on you, Corey. Hopefully Cooper DeJean can produce for you there, or you might have to find another option for IDP. Let's move on to Dylan. Our number 1 pick in the draft went with Jamar Chase, as you should if you are the one. And he did. So good job, Dylan, there. Followed it up with Josh Jacobs. And then a Travion Henderson pick in the 3rd. You'll see all this big red stuff here. I know he went up draft board some from where I got this data, especially after the explosion of hype in the preseason games after he ran a touchdown back on his first ever touch. A lot of great hype for Travion Henderson, but Dylan is obviously very excited about it, picking him at the beginning of the 3rd round. That may have been the highest I've seen him go this draft season, but good for Dylan getting his guy where he wanted him. You have to do that at the turn. You can see, you had to wait from the 25 to 48, almost a full other 25 picks to make his next pick there. Which did end up being Devontae Smith. So he wouldn't have got Travion Henderson if he waited, and got him because he didn't. So hopefully he explodes. If you're Dylan, you're hoping for that he's everything you dreamed of and more, because he has to give you a return if you're going to reach that hard on him there. And we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, Devontae Smith after, and to Xavier Worthy. I know Dylan's always been a big Xavier Worthy guy. Believed in him in a lot last year. And believes in him this year. Also believes in Bo Nix, who he picked up right after Colston Loveland. I know Dylan loves Bo Nix. He loves Bo Nix. He has him in Dynasty. He's talking about Bo Nix in the group chat all the time. Lives out in Colorado and gets to be a fan of his quarterback. So good pick there, and didn't even have to reach for him like you reached in some other situations here. You love to see that. You got Quinshon Judkins on a slide. Who knows what's going to happen with Judkins? I mean, 20 picks late, quote unquote, is where he got him at the 96. But, I mean, some places he goes high, some places he goes low. He's not even signed yet. So, the game's tomorrow. I mean, the Browns are playing this Sunday. It's like, if he's not signed the contract, he's not playing this week. You got to hope he gets something figured out. He's going to get suspended at the very least anyway. We'll see if he comes back and is strong at the end of the year. Doubled up on Browns. Went for Myles Garrett immediately after, and to Brandon Ayuk after that. Luther Burden, Brian Robinson, Pat Bryant, another Bronco, going for some stack action. Not someone that was even on my list. So even though he's a wide receiver, he doesn't have any ADP data here. I do like him. I have the guy in Dynasty. I think he's going to be great, but he was outside the top 200 for ADP. That's how off the boards this guy was, but Dylan wanted him, went and picked him with one of his last picks. Can't blame him there. Jonnu Smith, Abdul Carter, and Jack Besh to round that off. Some good and some bad there. Like I said, a lot of reaching in the beginning. I love Travion Henderson, so I can't fault him too much for it. But like I said, he's going to have to fulfill all your hopes and dreams for where you picked him. That's your 3rd guy. You are starting him every week, and you have to hope that he starts fast there. So Other than that, I mean, I like the pick. I like that you got your guy, Bo Nix, at value, and I think you got some good options for IDP in Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter, the rookie. So, yeah, we'll see if Johnny Smith is able to do anything with Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh, and if Brandon Ayuk is able to come back off of IR healthy and ready to go for you. Definitely some risk involved for Dylan. Let's look at Eric's team here. He was the number 5 overall pick, and he got Saquon Barkley in what is considered to be a pretty significant slide. It's really only 2 picks, but when a guy goes from a top 3 pick to a top 5 pick, it tends to look like a pretty huge shift. Hence this 250% power percentage over here. Again, something I accounted for when I was looking at all of this. I didn't weight that slide as heavily as the numbers would like me to believe. But it's still a significant slide regardless. In the first round, getting one of the top guys a couple picks later, it's a big deal. And Eric getting Saquon Barkley here, hoping he has a repeat of last season. Followed it up with Drake London. Is a good pick. A lot of people are very excited about him. I mean, I'm not even a huge Atlanta fan, and I can see the value in having Drake London on your fantasy team. That guy should be getting a lot of balls thrown his way. So, Saquon Barkley, Drake London, Brock Bowers in the third, which was a pretty significant slide for him. I've seen him go as high as the end of the first, but in the third for Eric there, followed it up with Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Tony Pollard, Patrick Mahomes at QB. Again, another pretty significant slide there. And then Cooper Kupp, Jacoby Myers, Michael Pittman Jr., Zach Bond, Austin Eckler, Brian Branch, Nick Chubb, and Ray Davis. Followed it up with a Shedeur Sanders for his last pick there. I think he's since dropped him, but we'll see when we go through and do the preview if he's still on his team or not. A lot of good, solid value here. Again, the Saquon Barkley thing is good no matter how you slice it. Maybe not 250% top of the line numbers good, but still good. And Brock Bowers at a super slide. It's always nice to have that positional advantage and not have to pay top dollar for it. So good on you there. Really some really great value on his onesie positions, and Jacoby Myers, especially after requesting the trade, people have been hesitant to pick him, so he ended up sliding as well. Nick Chubb and Ray Davis, those are some ball knower backup running back picks there. Nick Chubb might just as well be the starter with Joe Mixon being down for at least 4 weeks. All right, let's move on to Lehman's team here. Keep it moving. We have Malik Neighbors as his first pick here at the 12 because Lehman was rounding off the draft board there. So he had the back-to-back picks in the other way. We talked about Dylan doing it from the 1. Here's Lehman doing it from the 12 in a little different fashion. It's Malik Neighbors and Bucky Irving to start. I know he loves Bucky Irving. Might be an early pick according to ADP, but again, from the end, you're reaching for your guys, and his guy was Bucky Irving. So got him there. I know he has Trey McBride in another league as well, so seeing Trey McBride come to him at the end of the third round, he must have been ecstatic about that. And he was so empowered by the value he got that he decided to reach all the way down for Cortland Sutton. Almost a full round, but again, he wasn't going to see it for another maybe 2 full rounds, basically, before he got to pick again. Believes in Cortland Sutton, got his guy. So there is that pick. In the next set of picks for him, you got Isaiah Pacheco and Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka has been just darting all the way up draft boards because of the injury to Jalen McMillan and the reveal that Chris Godwin is most likely going to miss at least 4 weeks, if not 5 or more. The pathway is right there for Emeka Egbuka, the promising first-round rookie coming into Tampa Bay, to just take over the wide receiver 2 spot there and get a lot of volume immediately. So Lehman's excited about that, went down and picked him early, followed it up with another rookie in the next set of picks here, Caleb Johnson, and then the sophomore Rome Odunze. He got Josh Downs after that, Max Crosby, Najee Harris, who's blind. He's apparently approved to play. We'll see what happens with that. Demario Douglas, Jordan Love, and then Cam Ward and Jared Verse to top it off at the end. He also picked up Dante Thornton, who's been a little bit of a sleeper rookie pick. He was picked after Jack Besh, fellow wide receiver for the Raiders, but has been just dominating all of the first-team reps and has been announced as a first-team guy for them. He's just going to be catching balls instantly for the Raiders. As to how much value that actually holds, we'll see, but could be just a plug-and-play guy for him there all the way at the end of the draft. So good picks for Lehman. I thought he got a couple nice young guys. Taking your shots at the end on guys like Demario Douglas at 38 picks. It's whatever. None of that really hurts you at the end there. But a couple shots shots called in the beginning on Emeka Egbuka and Cortland Sutton. We'll see if those come to fruition for him or if those end up dragging him down here. All right, we got to look at my draft here, and I had a strategy coming into this. Whether or not I stuck to it, I don't know. It's still kind of up for debate. I'll just give you a moment to soak in exactly what happened at the top here. I picked up Travis Hunter with my first pick at the 8th overall pick. I think he's going to be a game breaker. I think he's 2 players. I think I get to put him in my IDP spot, and he's going to score me wide receiver numbers and IDP numbers. And I think that his floor is like 250 fantasy points, which is what they project for guys like Puka Nacua and whatnot. So I think he was worth it. I didn't want to risk it. There was a lot of rumblings about whether or not Travis Hunter was going to be a high pick in our league. There wasn't a lot of data to compare it to. I was telling people I was going to pick him in the first. I mean, this has been the game plan for me. I really wanted him, and I got him at the 8. I think he's worth every penny. It may be a massive reach according to the numbers, but that doesn't include IDP scoring. They're not counting him as 2 players like I am. So that's my biggest gamble. Looks bad in the numbers, but hopefully it makes me look like a genius at the end of the year. We shall see. I went with Omarion Hampton in the second round. Another big reach. I opened with 2 of them, 2 guys I really wanted to get. And I knew that since I was picking from the 8 spot, I was going to have to wait quite a bit, another 15 picks for it to come back around to me. And Omarion wasn't going to make it. So I picked him where I did. I'm happy about it. I think he's going to be the lead back in a run-first offense for the Chargers. They want to run. They couldn't really run as much as they wanted to. And even with a broken down, hobbled, 3 times injured J.K. Dobbins, they were able to get explosive rushes out of him in that system. So excited for the youth, excited for the talent, excited for the Tar Heel Omarion Hampton coming into the Chargers. And I picked him at round 2. At round 3, I was really surprised to see Josh Allen still on the board. Normally he goes in the middle to end of the second. So I picked him a good full round late. I have a soft spot for Josh Allen. I can't get away from it. I told myself over and over I wasn't going to pick early quarterback, and I picked early quarterback. But what can you do? Josh Allen slid around, and now he is on my team. So followed that up with Marvin Harrison at a slide, George Pickens, who I'm really high on. I think the Dallas Cowboys are underrated. Their offense is, just simply because their defense is going to be terrible and their run game is going to be terrible. So a lot of passing there to be had for Dak, CD, and George Pickens. And I got my hand on George Pickens. So happy about that. Followed it up with RJ Harvey. TJ Hawkinson had a huge slide. He went behind a lot of tight ends that I thought he should be going ahead of. So I was excited to grab him. Went Roquan Smith early. Hated it in the moment. Still unsure about it now, but I have him. And I have Jordan Addison, who I picked on a huge slide. I almost picked Jordan Addison where I picked Roquan Smith, but decided I'd just go Smith instead, and was rewarded with Addison on the come around there. Jalen Warren to shore up my running back. I got Keon Coleman for a wide receiver flyer. I think he could definitely break out this year. Jaden Blue, rookie running back for the Cowboys, in case they want to prove me wrong on their running back core sucking. He could end up taking the job there. Keenan Allen recently re-signed with the Chargers. I don't care if it's a new system. He already has chemistry with Justin Herbert. I'm sure he's going to get quite a few touchdowns this year. He had elite targeting on the Bears. He's never missed a step, honestly. He's just, when he's on the field, he's demanding targets. He's always open, and he comes down with them. So I don't care that Ladd McConkey is there now. I think Keenan Allen is still going to be a big piece of that offense, and I was excited to grab him super late, even though this looks like it was technically ahead of where he's supposed to go, according to my data here. Finished it up with Brock Purdy, Isaac Tesla, and J.J. McCarthy. Two guys that, two quarterbacks. I was just kind of throwing darts at the end here on guys that I thought should be drafted. And then I got Isaac Tesla, who I'm just super excited about. I think he's awesome. He's one of those guys that isn't really on a lot of people's draft boards, or wasn't before this crazy preseason where he was just putting up crazy numbers in every game. The Lions traded 2 third-round picks to use their third-round pick, so 3 third-round picks on Isaac Tesla, and I think they are going to use him. So I'm excited for him, and I have him stashed on my bench. Let's move on to Nate's team. Only got a few more teams here. We can kind of speed this up a little bit. Nate's team, he started with Jahmyr Gibbs at the 3, and now went and followed it up with Chase Brown after that. I love Chase Brown this year. I think he's undervalued in drafts. I think he's going to be everything and more for the Cincinnati run game when they use it. He also catches passes. He'll be used on the goal line. He'll be used all over, high volume, and a good pick for PPR. So Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase Brown opening it up for Nate. Strong running core there. Followed it up with Mike Evans and then Tyreek Hill. Got Tyreek Hill 20 picks late, almost 2 full rounds late. I know he's got a stink on him, but at the end of the 4th round, that is quite the slide for him there. Followed it up with great value on Jalen Hurts too. 16 picks. Those are my favorite 2 picks in Nate's for sure. Getting those 2 guys at big slides in the middle, that's big value for his team. Calvin Ridley is the only dog in town at the Titans facility, so he should be getting all the targets. Another good pick for Nate. Followed it up with Mark Andrews, Aiden Hutchinson, Charbonnet, Ramondre Stevenson, Robert Spillane, Rashad White, Kyle Pitts, Christian Kirk, Darnell Mooney, and then Tua at the very end there. I think he dropped him shortly after the draft. But the meme is, of course, he's relying on Kyle Pitts. I don't care. You got him at a 32 pick value. Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts. Good luck with that. Other than that, like I said, these are my 2 favorite picks of his in the middle, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Hurts. And I really like Chase Brown for him too. So solid team for Nate here. I like what you're doing. Wouldn't change much at all. And I hope that your guys that you took at the end come through for you. I think Darnell Mooney at a huge value is great for you. And you're just hoping that Kyle Pitts is something, or you can find something on waivers. Whatever. Worth a dart throw at 147. Nice job, Nate. Like your team. Let's move on to Ricky. Now, Ricky had some somewhat controversial picks, some takes that he liked, and some good stuff that he did right in the middle of it, too. I think that Christian McCaffrey is the ultimate wild card in the 1st round. Ricky wanted to sign up for that. Loved having Christian McCaffrey on his team 2 years ago, and then got to skip out on all the bad Christian McCaffrey stuff last year. He's ready to sign up for good Christian McCaffrey this year. We'll see if that ends up happening for him, but got him at the 6. Brian Thomas to follow it up, and then Devontae Adams in the 3rd. This was a pick that people were pretty surprised to see. Picked at 30, 43 at the on the sleeper ADP, like a round later. Really only 9 picks later in the average of all the home league platforms. So it's an understandable reach from Ricky there. Would have had to hope he gets him at value in the next round, but I don't think he would have. So Alvin Kamara was his next pick there. And then followed that up with James Conner and Jameson Williams. I'm high on Jameson Williams. I think he's going to be good this year. I like the Lions offense, as do most people. But right after the Jameson Williams pick, followed it up with Drake May at the 78, 52 picks early according to ADP. This was a big reach for a guy that, we're all in New England. We're mostly Patriots fans in this league. But I don't think anyone was picking him in that round. But regardless, Ricky was. He thinks he's going to be top 3. He said it himself. If he was here, he would be ranting and raving about Drake May. I love him. I have him in a lot of different leagues. If he didn't pick him here, I would have maybe picked him a round or two later. But I had Josh Allen, so I wasn't really looking at him. Yeah, and this was the big highlight of the draft for Ricky. He made a lot of other picks here. A couple dart throws at the end that he likes. Braylon Allen, Kyle Williams. Evan Ingram at a crazy value, almost 3 rounds later than he's expected to go. The tight ends were just sliding after everyone got some of the premium ones. I like Jordan Mason. I think Matthew Golden has a good opportunity, but yeah, the Drake May pick, he does have to be, he doesn't have to be top 3, but he definitely has to be, top 8 on the year, all year for this to really pay off for Ricky. And, I hope it does. I'm really excited for Drake May. I'm excited for the Patriots. I think that should be really good. So I'm on board with you, Ricky. If you were here, I wouldn't give you too much crap. You're not here, I'm still not giving you too much crap. So good draft there, and that's what we're going to be looking out for you. Okay, few more here. We got Riley at the 11 spot, picking Derrick Henry to start and following it up with A.J. Brown. Getting Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round at a big slide, 13 picks late after I picked Josh Allen. Some people are picking Lamar before him, but whatever, I'm a Josh Allen fan. You got George Kittle right after the quarterbacks, went quarterback tight end, and then went Joe Mixon right after that, who, as we already had talked about, is not playing for at least 4 to 5 weeks. So David Montgomery's definitely going to be getting some start time alongside Derrick Henry. And then he's still looking for one more wide receiver. Gets it in Jerry Jeudy, and that will be his starting line up there. Zaire Franklin going in for him. The number 1 IDP picked. This is the consensus guy to have. He's just making a ton of tackles. This guy is a freak of nature, and it's awesome to watch him play. So Riley investing in that, investing in a tight end, investing in a quarterback, really getting those small population positions filled. But we'll see if he has enough to fill the rest of his team after that. He got Van Ginkel, who I love. Think he's an awesome player as well. And then Baker Mayfield for a backup quarterback there. So yeah, Chris Godwin, who's also not playing for at least the first 4 weeks. And then Trey Hendrickson, gosh, another tight end. He definitely had a hard time picking out wide receivers for himself there. So Jerry Jeudy, man, that Jerry Jeudy's your wide receiver too. You're hoping you just get value out of him, and then if you don't, that means Cedric Tillman's your guy. You at least got him behind him, and Trey Harris is a rookie. You're hoping that he just takes Keenan Allen's job or develops into an alpha there somehow. Maybe takes Ladd McConkey's job or something. But yeah, he's definitely light on wide receiver, but everyone that he got some pretty great values. The only guy that he reached for technically was A.J. Brown, and it was a 3-pick reach. And I like A.J. Brown, so just by the numbers, a great draft from Riley here. But when you dig deeper at some picks, I'm not a huge fan of. Joe Mixon, you maybe got him at cost, Riley, but it's what is the cost really for a player who may not even play? You hope he comes back and he's as good as he was last year there, but maybe he isn't. Yeah, got you got Njoku and Kittle, so you're not starting both of those guys every week. Doubling up on some tight ends high can be tough, but I mean, gosh, a 64 pick slide for Njoku got him at 155. That's an end of the draft, whatever. And this is a guy that people respect as a top 6, top 8 tight end most of the time. So I can't knock the guys that you got. It's just the construction of the team. Maybe I have a bone to pick with, and we'll see. We'll see if your wide receivers hold up or if they give out on you and end up being a sore spot for you later in the season. For your sake, I hope your old guys at the top hold up. I know you did a little bit of like a Ricky recreation here, the championship team, getting Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson back together again. And we'll see if that ends up paying off for you, Riley. We got Sal here, the newcomer, coming in at the 9 spot in the draft. Picked Puka Nacua to start and followed it up with the exciting rookie, Ashton Genty. Everyone's excited to see him play. He was amazing in Boise State, and we're hoping he'll be amazing for the Pete Carroll-led, Geno Smith quarterbacked Las Vegas Raiders. Genty coming in there. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba shortly after, followed by Tetaroa McMillan. Sal was drafting right next to me, drafted Tet right before I wanted to draft Tet. Even though this says it was a quote-unquote reach, I think that's really where he's been going more recently in drafts now. And I think he's going to be heavily involved in that offense. Whether it's good or not is, still to be determined, but whether or not they're going to be throwing the ball, that's almost certain, and they're going to be throwing it to Tet. So T-Mac is going to be a player to look out for, and he's on Sal's team, so we'll see how that ends up going for him. Chuba Hubbard is the next pick. Went 2 Panthers right in a row. Not normally advisable, but got Chuba Hubbard almost a full round late, so can't argue with that. Big Ricky Pearsall reach, but again, he was drafted right next to me, and that was another guy that I really had my eye on, so definitely wouldn't have made it back around to him if he didn't get him there. Tyler Warren, another little bit of a reach there, but that's a rookie that people are super excited about. And then Bill Krosky, we got Bill Krosky here right after that. Love Bill Krosky. All the memes have been hilarious about him this offseason. The hype is unreal. Still listed as a fourth string running back for the Commanders, but they went ahead and traded away Brian Robinson because of what they have in him, in Bill Krosky. And that's got to mean something. Whether or not he's going to take over now is another story, but whether or not he's going to be with this team and an important part of the backfield for now and years to come, it's looking more and more likely by the day. Fred Warner following that up, and then Kyler Murray is his quarterback here. Got him at a pretty decent value. Marvin Mims after that, and then Jaden Reed at a slide, Trey Benson, Bobby Okereke, and then Dylan Sampson, Brenton Strange, Dallas Goedert, just Brenton Strange there. Dallas Goedert and the rest of these guys undrafted. So that is Sal's team, finishing off with Brenton Strange, like I mentioned. I did like the Ricky Pearsall and Tet picks, even though they were quote-unquote reaches. And Bill Krosky, your team is vibes. This is a ball-knower team. I'm excited to have Sal in the league. And I'm excited to see what his team can put together. Kyler Murray is his only quarterback, if I'm reading this correctly. So we'll see if he ends up needing some backup there, or if Kyler Murray takes a step forward with Marv in Marv's second year. For my sake, being a Marv owner, I hope he does. But that was it for the draft. We went through everybody's teams. This is the draft board if anybody is curious to see the whole thing. I'm not going to read it in order, but I'm putting it up on the screen now just so everybody can see it. And Here, let me get myself out of the way, just so everybody can see the entire draft board. You can pause it if you want to get a better idea of exactly how it all went down. All right, enough of that. I got a couple grades for everybody. You saw that I had all of these percentages here, this power percentage and these, sleeper dome value category that I have here. This is how many picks that they saved. The dome pick is 57 on this one, and the sleeper ADP was 46, so he saved 11 picks there. But the percentage is, more weighted towards where they are in the draft. So 11 picks here was, it's like 123% value on this guy. But 11 picks later on, even 17 picks isn't quite as much value. The further down you go. So this second percentage is kind of more weighted in that fashion. I'm not going to go through and pick through every pick here, but I did take the liberty of averaging some of these out and putting it in a little table here. So here are all of the owners in order, and just for the grand reveal of who quote-unquote won the draft, let's go ahead and take a look at it by percentage first. Ricky with the loss, and then Eric with the win by total average power percentage. I did go ahead and make this outlier adjusted percentage here, which did account for those things like I was talking about with Saquon Barkley being super heavily weighted just for being picked two picks later, and things like that. So this final one is what I was kind of basing everything off of. And without further ado, it looks like Riley takes it home. We mentioned the problems with his roster construction, but if everything holds up, he got all his guys at tremendous value. Really just played the drafting game pretty well, even though he may have auto-drafted some of the last picks, and maybe that's why he got so much quote-unquote value. But that is what led to this right now. So I got to give him his props with saving almost like double the amount of average picks. The average power, top of the line here, even without any outliers. He really just killed it with the total ADP data. So Riley getting an A. Eric coming in second with an A- here. Already closely behind him. Me in fourth. Of course, the outlier adjusted is going to favor me a little bit as opposed to my power percentage, which is definitely lower. I did have to take the whole Travis Hunter stat and bin it for anything to make sense since it was so incredibly low. So I went ahead and gave myself the B- for that one, even though Corey technically scored lower than me. He didn't have any outliers. He just had a nice, solid draft. I'll give that a B 10 times out of 10. Nate, similar, a little bit worse. Saved some more picks, but more of them were at the end. Some of his early round was technically reach. I'll give him a B- on this one. Dylan coming in with a C+, some good value, but really just kind of middle of the road. Not anything super crazy. When you average it all together, obviously you had some big reaches and then big values later that kind of all evened out. And when you get middle of the road like that, you get a C+. So there you go, Dylan. Sal, pretty similar. Had some reaches that we talked about. I thought that they were worthwhile reaches. So while you get a C in just ADP draft grade, you get an A in my heart, buddy. I think you get a great team and a real shot. So we'll see what happens there. A couple more C's closer to the bottom here. Just some nice, even, stable value. A couple reaches balanced out by the values that you got there. So good job there. And then a couple stinkers at the bottom. We saw Ricky really reaching for his guys at all times. Even just taking that Drake May stat and watering it down a little bit there. He still was only barely even on everything. So we'll see if your shots, again, this is not a whether or not your team is good or not. This is how much you paid for the guys that you got. And Ricky was definitely not efficient with his picks in that fashion and gets a D there. The only person to outdo him is Lehman. And this is just, there's just no outliers. He was just reaching all over the place, didn't get value, even just across the board on average, just paid more than what he was getting. So poor Lehman there. He's going to come in last with an F. Sorry to see it, buddy. I like your guys. I like Emeka Egbuka. I like, Cortland Sutton. Even Bucky Irving's one of the guys that I really like. But you just kept reaching. This is what happens. You get an F for your draft grade, but we'll see if that ends up panning out for you here. I know I'm opening myself up immediately to a lot of crap with this here, but I thought it'd be fun to give you guys a little score summary for the draft. That's what this segment is, and that's what we've done. So there are your grades, boys. Take them and either show me I'm right or show me I'm wrong. I guess we'll see what happens. I'd really love to see if the standings end up exactly like this at the end of the year, and I could say I called it now. But all right, we got a couple more things to get to. That was the draft. There was a couple fun moments at the draft. This is Nate and Lehman colluding in the corner with Nick flagging him for it. A lot of fun moments like this for everyone who could make it out to the draft. Thank you so much for coming. It was a blast. For everyone who couldn't make it, we missed you there. We hope to see you there next year, whenever we're doing the draft and wherever we're doing it there. Speaking of Lehman, he had the poop hat last year, and our loser, Dylan, has the poop hat now. And either in Lehman's possession or while it was being transferred into Dylan's, it's been turned rainbow. So, I don't know what that tells you about either one of these guys, or perhaps both of them, but the rainbow poop hat is now in the possession of Dylan. You should be expecting a picture like this every week moving forward here as we get into the season, because if he doesn't send a picture like this of him watching football with the poop hat on, he forfeits the week and scores 0 points. So if he sends us the picture, he gets +1 point on the week, and it moves on over to the next one. He's determined to try to win by the 1 poop point that he'll get for doing it, so I hope I do see these pictures every week. A forfeit is bad news. You don't score points one week, there's just about no shot you win a tiebreaker later on when the standings are important. So keep that in mind. Keep sending us those pictures, Dylan. And let's move on from the draft and the announcements and into the projection preview, where we can look at our Week 1 2025 DFL matchups. Let's do it.
Projection preview.
All right. Let's take a look here. We got some fun matchups to go over. Our Week 1 matchups, of course, are the first of our 3 rivals that will be repeat matching us at the end of the year. I really had to fight with the schedule because it wanted us to be rivals with the same people we've been rivals with the past 2 years, and I wanted some new life, some new action, some new rivalries, and some new matchups. So I put together a new schedule, and if you see anything wrong with it in the future, let me know. Hopefully we find it now before anything too crazy happens with it. I went over it many times, so I hope that it's all set. But let's first talk about, it's first on my list, so I'm gonna click it and we're gonna go through it. It's the Ball Hogs versus the 69ers, and we have got some action to talk about here. It's going to be Josh Allen at quarterback for me. We talked about him. I've already given all my guys nicknames. Some of them, managed to hold over, but some of them are new. Neon Keon, I had him last year. I drafted him pretty late. Got the fantasy cheat code in my IDP slot, and I don't think his projections are accurate. It's leading me to a quite embarrassing projections loss by about 15 points here. I don't think that Travis Hunter should necessarily be projected for 15 more points, but I do think he should be projected for at least 15 total. Right now, he's not even at 10. That's just my heart, though. It might not even be reality here. Marv versus CeeDee Lamb is definitely a rough matchup for me. In terms of just a heads up wide receiver 1 matchup, but I'm hoping that Omarion Hampton and Jaylen Warren can do it for me from the running back position. Really, I just have this strength in quarterback with Josh Allen. I know he's going to be very good. Sunday night, I hope he really puts the team on his back, as he tends to do. And tonight, the Cowboys versus the Eagles. We're already going to get some points for Alex here, and I hope that Dak doesn't really get a ton done, and if he does, it goes to George. You know, I got George Pickens, he's got CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully I'm picking up the points, and he isn't there. TJ Hawkinson versus Sam Laporta, they're projected very even amounts of points, but I'm going to have to wait until Monday night to get that out of the way here. I'm also flexing Keon Coleman. That's going to be a Sunday night game as well. I'm going to be waiting to the end of the week to really get my week 1 results in, whereas Alex might know a lot more about his as soon as tonight here. Noteworthy, he picked CJ Stroud before Dak Prescott, but is running out Dak Prescott there. I agree with it. I think that's the better move for you. Even in this tough matchup, the stack is going to produce, I think, and should be good for him there. So again, he is the odds-on favorite on this one, but I'm not counting myself out yet. I got some star players that I think are going to put up more points than projected here. Another quick side note before we move on: he's not even playing me this. He's not even playing Lehman this week, but he's playing all Lehman nicknames here. he's just nicknamed everyone Lehman, except the guys that already had nicknames for him. And you can see that TJ Watt is on his team after we went over some draft news about him being on Chris's team. So I actually do want to get into that a little bit. There was some trading going on and some moving around. Perhaps I should have gone into my waiver wires and trade segment, but we're already an hour in, so let's get through these matchups, and we'll talk about that later. All we know for sure now is that Alex has TJ Watt, and he was traded for something. Why don't we go ahead and just click on him and see if we can't find out? Yes, it was from Chris. Traded Tyrone Tracy for... traded Tyrone Tracy for TJ Watt there. After being drafted by Chris to 902. So that's a good little trade for those guys. Moving some stuff around there. All right, let's move on now to the My Little Ponies versus the Draconic Sorcerers. Ricky being the champion and now having Drake May has gone with the Draconic theme. And Nate is My Little Pony this season, it looks like, at least for now. We've got Drake May going, of course, the QB1 listed for Ricky versus Jalen Hurts. Hurts also going tonight, but the Patriots play at 1 o'clock on Sunday here. Really excited to see if Jalen Hurts is still going to be... I mean, the tush push is in, so he should be scoring 1 rushing touchdown every game, if not more than that here. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs and Chase Brown, both really exciting running backs, and then Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans. Just looking like a lot of strong alphas there, but Ricky's still holding over the projection edge. No small part due to Christian McCaffrey, who's projected 20 points, Brian Thomas at 17, and James Conner projected very high in his flex slot as well, next to Jameson Williams. So Ramondre Stevenson being wheeled out there for a flex for Nate is hurting him for sure in terms of the projections. Geez, even Zach Charbonnet is projected to get more there, so we'll see if he sticks with Stevenson or pivots off of that one. But other than that, it is a good matchup to look out for here. Good tight end usage. We got Devontae Adams going out. We'll see if Stafford is actually healthy and ready to go here. Good matchup here. Only a 5-point difference so far, and that's with the kind of sandbag from the projection standpoint, at least, by not putting Charbonnet in. If Charbonnet was in, it'd be pretty much even projections. Excited to see how this one turns out. A perennial playoff contender versus the previous champ. We'll see what happens there. We've got Artie and Bill Cosby's Sleepers versus Dylan and Tua's Tards Revival here. Tua did end up on his team. He was just dropped to waivers and then picked back up by Dylan. It's kind of his mascot at this point, so excited to see him back on Dylan's team. We've got, it doesn't look like anything specifically interlocked with these guys other than just the standard matchups on Sunday. We're going to be waiting until Monday night to see DeAndre Swift go for Artie. Is losing the projection battle by a good 9 points here. Jamar Chase is a big part of that, being projected for 20 points, and then also seen a little bit of a difference down here because Micah Parsons is projected for 0 points. Everything I've heard is saying that he is going to go week 1, so until limited practice, I've heard he's going to go, so I should see some more projection points coming up from him, and that should pretty much even this right out. Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. I didn't think that Artie's team should have been projected that much less, with some great matchups here. I mean, he's got Garrett Wilson versus Adam Thielen in a flex slot. That's got to be Garrett Wilson favored. I don't care who you are, especially when you got the stack here. You got to be favoring that. I think that is going to be good for him. And, he could definitely have a good chance of winning, despite the projections not being in his favor at the moment. Abdul Carter getting the start. Of course, he was drafted to be started, but starting a rookie week 1, it's always interesting. It's always fun to watch, and especially with the way we're watching defensive guys, it's even another wrinkle for us there. We never get a break. You got to watch every play. Not starting Jared Goff here, going with the other stack that we talked about, the Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson stack. I mean, he drafted Justin Fields first, so I can't blame him for wanting to start him. I'd be tempted to start Goff, though. I don't know. I think Goff and Amon-Ra versus the Packers, it could be pretty cool. Regardless, that's that matchup here. So far, Dylan favored, but that could be easily either person's day there. Let's take a look at Corey and the Dogs versus Riley and the Basketball Americans. It's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, just named Ricky. He's just trying to channel that champion energy here. Some could call that, maybe jealousy. Some could call that flattery, imitation being the most sincere form of it. We'll see if it is true imitation or just a poor facsimile, a bad recreation of what's happened last year. In any case, going up against Jaden Daniels is maybe the one matchup for Lamar Jackson that you could say you're just even and toe-to-toe on. Josh Allen is close in ADP, but their play styles are somewhat different. You could look at a stat line for either one of these guys and kind of place it on either of them. So I think that is a good, interesting quarterback matchup to look at there. We've got Jerry Jeudy getting fired up versus Cincinnati. It's a bad defense and it's a divisional matchup, so a good week 1 matchup for him, and Riley definitely needed it. And Joe Flacco being put in as a quarterback could be the good news that Riley wants to hear, with Browns being on his team here. He's got Njoku, he's got Jerome Ford, he's got Jerry Jeudy. Fire up them Browns, baby. You're going against the Bengals, and their defense is a wet paper bag. The bag patrol, of course, is on it for TJ Hendrickson here, but he might not be enough. Cam Scattaboo getting the start over here for the Dogs. He is firing him up. He doesn't have... I mean, he's got other options in the... in the flex, but he loves Cam Scattaboo, and he's putting him out there. Could be the reason he is losing the projections by just a mere 5 points, but wants that Cam Scattaboo action instead of Bateman or Rashid Shaheed. So can't blame him. I love Cam Scattaboo too, and I hope that works out for him here. Jerome Ford is a risky pick. I mean, the Browns could very easily just have a bad day, and then it's bad times for the Basketball Americans. This one could be anyone's game as well, and we'll see if anyone gets a head start on this one. It looks like a lot of late action we're going to be waiting for. These two Vikings playing together on Monday night. We got the Sunday night action of the two Ravens. We do have A.J. Brown going tonight, and we do have Travis Kelce, the Chargers versus the Chiefs in that Brazil game on Friday. So some early action here, but really we are going to be mostly waiting till the end of the week for this one. All right, 2 more matchups. Let's look at the Crimson Chins and Lehman versus Sal and the Retardinals here. Of course, we've got Kyler Murray to head the Retardinals, and it's an interesting team he has put together, and nicknamed, of course. We got Slam Big Ashton Genty, Puka Nacua in the cuck chair. We've got Jackson Smith and Jigba in Paris. And we've got Tyler Warren here. These are all great nicknames. And on the other side, I just am being flipped off constantly by Lehman. There's only one FU Daco in here, and that's his Max Crosby IDP player. But the rest of them, I'm so affectionately known to the rest of my league mates as the Czar, and I'm being flipped off. So thanks for that, Lehman. Close projections here, 137 to 138. Really anyone's game. Not huge differences in projections that are exploitable, but should be a lot of weight on Pacheco's shoulders in Brazil. We'll see if the grass is fixed on that field. A pretty big, sizable difference projected between Tet McMillan and Rome Odunze. So if Rome's able to close that up on Monday, could definitely be interesting there as well. I am super excited to see Ricky Pearsall play. I don't think there's a lot of other options for pass catching there in San Francisco. So that should be a lot of volume for him, but we already talked about Emeka Egbuka demanding a lot of volume right off the bat as well. That's leading to those two pretty much having the same projection as well. One of our closest projections so far. I'm really excited to see how this one goes. Lehman wanted to say with his statement that the manager of the 69ers, P's sitting down, and the Chins by $1 billion this week. So it seems like Lehman and the Crimson Chins and the 69ers, they just have this will they, won't they, love-hate relationship where all they can do is think about each other even when they're not even playing each other. Eyes on the road, guys. You got a week 1 matchup ahead of you. You're too busy making lovey-dovey eyes at each other here. Why don't you focus on the dude ahead of you here? It's gonna start getting rough for you. I'm a little offended myself just because I'm facing Alex this week. He doesn't even care. He's too busy looking at Lehman. Get a room. Anyway, for that, I think the Chins lose. So there we go there. I did want to mention, I did kind of skip over it a little bit here, but the Retardinals joining the league here, being the newbies this year, really did manage to set off the Tard conglomerate. He wanted to remind everyone that he was the original Tard conglomerate here, a collection of all the retarded players in the league, and he's telling the Retardinals that they're going to have to make some serious downsvestments if they want to keep up with the conglomerate's aggressive moves down the IQ scale here. So we'll see. We'll see if those two are able to squash their beef. I think we're going to be waiting a little bit into the year for those two to end up playing against each other. One of them has looked it up. I think it might be week 10 or something. It is a while. There's going to be some tension brewing between these two teams for sure. All right, let's get to our last matchup here. It's the Stroud Boys versus the Tampa Trap House. Chris versus Eric. Eric's been the Stroud Boys now for, I think, 3 years. I don't think he's had Stroud since his rookie year, but, keep on keeping on, Eric. You can be whatever you want to be, and right now, even though you have Mahomes as your quarterback and Saquon Barkley as your running back, you're the Stroud Boys. Why not? You do have Saquon Barkley going tonight, being projected 20 points, but you're only projected 5 points ahead of Chris here. Joe Burrow is making up some of that difference for him here. Jimmy Cook's making up some of that for him here versus Tony Pollard. And, Eric does have Brock Bowers going, that positional advantage there. And, Brian Branch is supposed to be great for him on IDP. Chris managed to, put some things together for himself. He did trade TJ Watt out and get himself some backups and everything there. He also traded Rashee Rice for Calvin Ridley straight up right after the news was confirmed that he was going to be a 6-week suspension. I forgot. It wasn't confirmed at the draft. I totally lied earlier. It was confirmed after, and he immediately traded him for Calvin Ridley straight up to Nate. So now Nate is bearing that burden, and Chris has another receiver to be able to play. I think he really needed it, so that's good for him. And then, he's got Tyrone Tracy out there as well. He needed to make those trades after picking all those IDP guys and unavailable players, and trade he did. And now, even though he's not projected to win, he's still got higher projections than a lot of the other teams in the league. We'll see if he can put it together this week and this year. He's 2 removed now from the championship that he won. And now we got double the IDPs, more flexing action, the double flex this year. And we'll see if that ends up coming into play for him. But that's this matchup right now. It's the Stroud Boys by 5, but we'll see if anything changes there. And that is going to do it for the matchups here. So, we got it. It's football time. Nothing left to do but to do it. Nothing left to see but to watch the rest of it unfold. It's exciting stuff, and I can't wait here. I did want to say thanks again to everyone that came to the party. This year was, special to me. It's not only a draft party, but it was my bachelor party. So this is a memory I know I'll have forever. And doing this league, having this podcast, doing this with everybody, it's one of the favorite things in my whole life and everything that I get to do. So I love you guys. I can't wait for football tonight. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it next week and hopefully have you guys tune in for another episode then. But until then, it's been me, it's been real, it's been the DFL Breakdown. I hope you guys have a wonderful night and enjoy the game, enjoy the year. DFL 2025, let's get it, boys!
Thank you for listening to the DFL Breakdown. Tune in next week for more.